lovely good morning to you, our viewers. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Camnet TV Breakfast Show of today being the 24th of October 2022. What a beautiful day for our country, Zambia. Indeed, I am your host, Miriam Kaimba, and in studio, I am not alone. I am joined by my beautiful colleagues, Paramshala, and we're going to be discussing about independence this morning and just giving you of what exactly, the day is all about today. Zipra, good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Show.
Good morning, ma'am, and good morning to our viewers out there. Indeed, it is a lovely morning. Even the weather outside feels good today. I think even the weather knows that we're celebrating our independence. And it is a lovely Monday morning and happy Independence Day to you out there. I hope you're going to have a wonderful day. And me, I'm talking about independence. I feel like we've heard many stakeholders saying we need to continuously teach the generation of this day what our forefathers went through, because you find that even when you're just at an event, Miriam, people don't even have that zeal to sing the national anthem.
Exactly.
They're just there. It's like they don't really appreciate. So I think if we continuously re-emphasize what our forefathers went through in the education curriculum, I think people are going to appreciate more.
Exactly. Today we need to cherish the ones who made our independence, very possible. Freedom is hard to get, but here we are, we have it. So we need to appreciate this very gift that we were granted. A very, very beautiful moment indeed, Zipara, we can talk about. I basically am happy that, I can celebrate this 58th independence that Zambia has gained. Yeah.
Yes, and me, I was going to ask you to sing a song of independence, but I don't want to shock the viewers out there. But anyway, just now join us as we get to the doctor's corner and see what the doctors have for us. And remember that you can actually come and sponsor their health segment. Join us on the other side.
Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Marie Mukandila. I'm here to talk to you about oral health awareness, as we are all aware that this whole week, starting on 20th of March, is our World Oral Health Day. So I'm here to talk to you about our oral health awareness so our community and those who are viewers can be able to understand how important it is to have a good oral hygiene. Our topic for today we're going to cover is oral health hygiene, which I believe not so many people are aware of how to take good care of oral hygiene, or when to visit a dentist, or when to come to the hospital just for checkup. So today I'm going to explain to...
Good morning, Camnet viewers. Welcome to this episode of the Breakfast Show, and on today's Health Corner we're continuing our discussion on cystic fibrosis that was started on Monday, and we're going to be focusing on the management of cystic fibrosis. My name is Salam Lenga, coming to you from the Medical Women's Association of Zambia, and a medical doctor, a pediatric registrar serving at the University Teaching Hospital's Children's Hospital here in Lusaka. Starting from Monday, we've been discussing a chronic genetic condition known as cystic fibrosis, and we discussed that this is a condition that was in past years exclusive to, or known to be exclusive only to the Caucasians or of European descent, but now we do know that indigenous Black Africans or indigenous Africans can and are being diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. We discussed yesterday that cystic fibrosis is multisystemic, and even though the most complaints are usually about the respiratory system, it can affect various organs, different organs in our system, and therefore complications can be very diverse and severe or mild depending on the extent of this complication. We discussed that enzyme deficiency are some of the complications that arise from cystic fibrosis, recurrent chest infections, recurrent difficulties in malabsorption, and therefore this child is malnourished or failing to thrive. These are children, because of this pancreatic damage, can present with diabetes, and therefore they have this inability to absorb the glucose that they need to, and therefore they're always hyperglycemic. We talked about how in males, especially if they're diagnosed earlier in life or later in life, say in the adolescence or adult age, their usual complaint is sterility or infertility, and those are some of the complications of cystic fibrosis. So how do we manage cystic fibrosis? We do know that it is multisystemic, and therefore management is multidisciplinary. It will involve so many specialty doctors, because not only will you need it from the time of delivery if this child is diagnosed in utero, but you should also then expect that if this child is born with cystic fibrosis, from the time that they're born, they'll need their pediatrician, they're going to need their physician or doctors, they're going to need even the specialist doctors, the pulmonologist, the gastroenterologist, all the doctors that are involved with the different systems of the human body. It therefore is important to know that it is a chronic condition that can only be managed at the moment, because there is no known cure. It will be something that as parents would need to know about from the time that we are genetically counseled, if we're planning to have children. If we're documented to be carriers of this cystic fibrosis mutation, we know that there are variants of mutations that have been documented all over the world, and therefore karyotyping, genetic counseling comes into play for people who wish to know their status as far as cystic fibrosis is concerned, and their status as far as wanting to become parents. For a child or a person who's diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, it's therefore important then that we maintain good lung function, because the primary organ that is the main area of complaint is the respiratory system, which is the first to be compromised due to these recurrent chest infections, which can then also compromise the cardiac function, leading to cardiac failure or heart failure, which we know medically as cor pulmonale, because of your compromised lung function. So in management, we want to make sure that we're always clearing this mucus, which is thick and viscous due to this genetic condition that you have, and therefore we're always making sure that it's cleared, it is not affecting any other organ. If it is a newborn who needs to be cleared of this meconium ileus, that surgery is ultimately the option. If it cannot pass on the duct obstruction, will need to be cleared surgically, and that is why we're saying cystic fibrosis, being a multisystemic condition, will be managed by multiple disciplinaries in the medical field. Thank you for watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, and this has been the Health Corner with me, Salam Lenga, from the University Teaching Hospital and the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Have a good day.
Quite interesting there. I hope you learned one or two things from the doctor, although for me, Miriam, it was a bit complicated, the systematic fibrosis and all that, but I'm sure our viewers got one or two things from the doctor's corner. Some of your takeaway points, Miriam.
Yes, Deborah, we have seen that the doctors have continued bringing us nothing but the best, with regards to healthy issues. Just like you said, those terms she was using, scientific terms, hey.
It made you lost.
It made me lost, Deborah, but yeah, I did take one or two things, just like I'm sure our viewers did take. But anyway, right about now, we'll go direct into our money market. And to our viewers at 0730 hours sharp, we are opening our phone lines, and those who are watching us live on Facebook, please do join in our conversation this morning and send us your messages, your independence messages. In case you want to wish up a shout out to someone. Yeah, exactly. So let us look at our money market and see how the kwacha is faring against other currencies. So we have the British pound there buying at 17 kwacha 69 ngwe and selling at 18 kwacha 04 ngwe. We have the United States dollars. They are buying at 15 kwacha 84 ngwe and selling at 16 kwacha 66 ngwe. We have the euro. They are buying at 15 kwacha 51 ngwe and selling at 15 kwacha 82 ngwe. We have the South African rand buying there at 0 kwacha 86 ngwe and selling at 0 kwacha 88 ngwe. Zipora, we look, just looking at the US dollar, we're already at, on the selling part, we are on the 16 kwacha 66 ngwe.
16 ngwe.
16 ngwe.
We're going towards 17 kwacha, and on the buying side we're going towards 16 kwacha. Ma'am, on our Independence Day, is our kwacha independent? Yeah, do we have that freedom for our kwacha?
Well, with me, I think there's still some hope. Yeah.
I'm just scared the day to reach 20, then I'll
No,
say I surrender.
it's not going to be an adult again. We're not going to say
Now it's a juvenile.
Now it's still a juvenile.
We want it to go now into childhood. $9, nine kwacha somewhere there and all that.
Imagine, Zipporah. But anyway, right about now, like I mentioned earlier, that we have opened our phone lines, and you, our viewers out there who are watching us, you can take part in this conversation that we're having this morning, and do call us, send us your messages. Those who are watching us live on Facebook, we will be able to read them through. Just to go direct in one of the stories that we did, Zipporah, zooming in the headlines. Yesterday we did a story in Lusaka's Mtandabantu compound, that is within Kanyama constituency, where this woman, okay, she credited some money, I mean she borrowed some money from someone that was amounting to 430 kwacha. This merely 430 kwacha. So this person, when she saw that this woman is delaying to pay her back, she went at home, went direct to the bedroom, and got her 1-year-old son as collateral. Yeah, a very strange, you know. When I first saw the story, you know, when I was doing the story, I was told about the story. I got myself thinking, like, what was going on in the woman's
more costly because you're going to end up feeding the child, taking care of the child.
How do you just end up getting someone's child?
That's kidnap.
That's kidnap. How do you end up getting... I know on the woman's side, again, it's an offense because she was supposed to pay someone's money. Again, the other woman committed another offense.
And you know, ma'am, I think maybe this is common in most of these compounds. Yes, because the other time I was in Mandevu, I was doing a story, and you find that there's this woman who was crying. I don't know if you remember that story.
Yes.
And she was saying that her child has been kidnapped. And then Tozara discovered after 2 days, after 2 days, we filmed the woman. She was distraught. The matter was reported to the police. She was there crying, showing us pictures of her daughter. And 2 days later, just for a neighbor to say, this child has been in my house, I got the child to teach her a lesson because you like leaving her alone in the house. Like, really?
How? But yeah.
So such things are a crime, actually.
Exactly.
That's tantamount to kidnap, because no one knows really, like, was that your intention, or is it that you just retain the child after you've seen that the mother has gone out of hand and all that?
Yeah, it's a very sad, it's a very, very sad situation, Zipporah.
And you're quite interesting, Miriam. I look forward to seeing that story.
Exactly. Let us go direct into playing that story, and then we'll continue our discussion. In an effort to boost her cellular business, Miriam Panda of Lusaka's Mutandabantu compound borrowed some money from a lady she identified as Lydia. Little did she know the confusion that would hit her later after. Narrating a predicament, Miriam Panda explains that she borrowed some money from the said lady amounting to 430 kwacha and promised to pay back within the same month of October. However, when she failed to do so, Miss Lydia stormed at her house and went direct into her bedroom and took her son, who was sleeping, as collateral.
tapelekana kuma polisi na bwana vomera tapasana na agreement ya tipa Friday. So pa Friday na bwana enda kutandaula polisi drama sinakwani hapa yachetekera business ya imilirako atyo. So pa manda ya msmaino enda ku polisi baende ku polisi pa Tuesday kuma 05 lompwira manje ati jeni ku polisi nati enda nza kupezani nenzo sakira ndrame siningaenda ku polisi nilibeka ngono ati ntendere pamoja nati enda nza kupezani bebe ndi banamba kunyozera ku shout sonde bena bwana wasi apado natamangira kuri bakuru banga nibwera nipezangira ku bed watinga mwana.
Mrs. Ampande had first hid the information from her husband that she had borrowed some money in order to boost her business. Now he cannot help but imagine how his son Moses, not his real name, almost became collateral to an agreement gone wrong.
Bakamtenge bwanji kuboka mbati ati siniziyo ati kaya mami beve bakambati ati baina nkongole kuri beve so no bwera che direct kungena pa city paka ku bedroom no bwera otenga mwana futi no papira na chitenge cha mene cha mukazi wanga beti kwanga so nde mwe nanyamukira kuchoka kunchito sense naenda paka nyama police.
He is, however, not satisfied with how the police handled the matter, considering the fact that his child was taken by the same woman for more than 4 hours before he was reunited with them.
Police enze pa duty kujenzo nkamba nkani ya mwana wanga mukazi ujaoina mfupi enze ati lipstick wakamba ati lipstick na tusisito mangiwa so pa mwamba hapa so ninaesa kushita explain ukambira hapa pankani yanga eveze che pankani ya nkongole ya mukazi wanga kwa sira natumanye kani ya mwana wanga bangangene bwanji ku bedroom kwanga ine sinilipo mwini wa nyumba olo mukazi salipo then bangene ku bedroom kuja ku bedroom kuli mapanti tumasia chisiye chabe chili chonse nivambiri vamene tumasia ku bedroom but bana ngena direct so chinaenda bwisa maningi uja muzimai polisi mwamene anaitengera nkani nezoona kwati mu new dawn government vintu vinachinja kazi si vinachinja corruption nde pamene yendera paso cause ni corruption ichi ichitoonekera okumukambisana baja banyamata baenda bakambisana na polisi.
Effort to get in touch with the accused, Miss Lydia, by broadcast time proved futile as her phone was off.
All the subscriber you have dialed has their phone switched off. Please try again later.
A comment from the police spokesperson Ray Hamonga says the police are looking into the case and further indicates that both women are at the wrong side of the law, as it is an offense to fail to return someone's money, as well as entering someone's home without permission and grabbing their child. Camnet TV is keenly following up the case and trying to get in touch with Miss Lydia. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News. Quite an interesting and sad story at the same time. Zipporah, when you look at that story, it shows you that the poverty levels in the country are very high. You know, if someone can fail to pay 430 kwacha, you know, I just, like you were saying, you know, people would say, no, just a mere 430 kwacha. Yeah, but, you know, we have people at
something big to someone.
Big, yeah, to someone. And then they failed. Then later on, the child was gotten as collateral. Yeah, but anyway, at the end of the day, when they went to report the matter to the police, the child was given back. Yeah, and it was resolved. But the police are still looking into the case. Yeah.
Yeah, quite interesting. Yeah, that's unusual. A child as collateral.
Yeah.
Meaning that they don't keep that child forever if that person doesn't pay you back or...
Yeah, those were my questions. Like, why would you get someone's child? And you know, the child, when you hear the clip, the mother would say, even the father, that the child was taken by the same woman from 05 to 12 hours somewhere there. So all those hours, what did the child eat? Because the child is still breastfeeding, okay? Still sucking. So
that's cruelty again.
Exactly. Yeah, so what was she feeding
quite
the child?
Quite interesting there. And just a reminder that we have opened our phone lines, so you can call us and give us your view on the stories that we're playing, or leave us a message on Facebook. And really, what is your view of Zambia's independence 58 years after 1964? Have we indeed liberated as a country? Are we enjoying the freedoms that we're supposed to enjoy? For example, how is the state of democracy? in the country. Miriam, talking of independence, we have another story.
Exactly, Zipporah. So every, when we're celebrating independence every year, the president does pardon, inmate. He uses his prerogative mercy, which is pursuant to Article 95 of the Constitution, to pardon different inmates across the country. Anyway, these those who are qualified, according to what the minister yesterday was saying through the briefing, that they do a process. It's not like you just pick everyone. No, you need to be scrutinized, to be selected, and see if you are qualified to be pardoned by the president. So yesterday, the president did pardon 1,125 inmates across the country.
Back into society.
Across the country, yes. And you will understand, Zipporah, that these people, they are not only coming back into society, empty-handed, but whilst they were in prison, they were taught different skills. Yeah. So
and we hope that they can get some
funding. They can get some funding. Of course, there's a provision for that. A cooperative for inmates where they can get resources, and then so that they can do not find challenges to reintegrate when they come back to society. Yeah. So there's a provision for that. And among these 1,125 inmates, which were pardoned, it will be shocking to you that only 51 were females.
Meaning that we have a few females in the
exactly.
facilities.
So as of yesterday, the 23rd of October 2022, the population number of inmates stood at 24,704 inmates. And then out of this number, only 653 were females.
And ma'am, when you say inmates, does it mean also those who are awaiting court trial, or
yes,
a different population? It's all together?
All together. Not really. Those who are...
I think these are people who are in prison or incarcerated.
They're serving incarcerated, yeah. They are serving.
So now we also need to know how many those that are still awaiting court
cases,
judgments, yes, because these people were told they stayed there for a long time, Miriam.
Yeah, but
told they stayed there for some years. So we also need to know how long, what is the population, how long have they been there, which cases have been taken, which cases have been, and all those.
Yeah, and during the same press briefing yesterday, Zipporah, the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Jack Mwimbu, did mention about that fact on the issue of delayed judgments. We have found, just like you have mentioned, we have found someone has stayed in prison for a year without being taken to court, without their matter being, trial starting their matter. So these were some of the issues that the minister said government is looking into, and they're working in collaboration with the judiciary so that they can see how possible these judgment can be disposed of as soon as possible, so that someone does not have to spend a longer period of time in incarceration. But anyway, let's get direct into playing that story in case you missed that story. As of the 23rd of October 2022, the inmate population countrywide stands at 24,704. Out of these, 653 are females, while 24,051 are males. These figures, especially from the male inmates, show that correctional facilities are overstretched and cannot adequately house the large number of inmates. It is for this reason why President Hakainde Hichilema has granted a presidential amnesty to help decongest correctional facilities across the country. Sunday morning, 1,125 inmates were granted presidential amnesty as part of the commemoration to mark the country's 58th independence anniversary. The action by the president is pursuant to Article 97 of the Constitution, which provides for presidential pardon and substitution of several punishments imposed on convicted persons. Among those pardoned, 1,074 are males, while 51 are female. Disclosing this information, Home Affairs and Internal Security Minister Jack Mwimbu also reaffirmed government's commitment to ensuring that the challenges associated with water and sanitation faced by inmates in most of the correctional centers are addressed.
At the same time, we are ensuring that all detention and correctional centers have flushable toilets, access to electricity, and adequate ventilation to improve the welfare of both inmates and officers. Zambia is a signatory to many treaties and conventions on human rights that include treatment of inmates. To this effect, government is working hard to ensure that it adheres to the United Nations minimum standard rules.
Among other issues facing inmates, the government says it is committed to enhancing the criminal justice system by bringing on board all stakeholders, including the judiciary, so that cases are disposed of in good time without delay. Another essential element that government has also put into consideration is offering treatment programs and psychosocial counseling to inmates, as this is aimed at helping them not to re-offend society again once they are reintegrated.
Has been spearheading the creation of cooperatives by ex-inmates. The concept is used as one of the platforms through which ex-inmates are empowered with resources to help them integrate in communities with less challenges.
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Freedom Statue is located in front of government complex buildings and was erected in 1974 to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Zambia's independence. Although the country held a relatively peaceful transition, winning independence without a civil war or armed revolution, the struggle toward freedom was still long. This symbolic monument honoring the freedom fighters who died during the conflicts was inspired by a real event. The man immortalized in the artwork is the now deceased Nzanko Mpundu Mutembo, a native to the Zambian town of Mbala. After a trial following his arrest for protesting, Mutambo was sent to Livingston prison where he was held in chains. With 8 armed soldiers facing him, he was ordered to break free from his constraints or be shot instantly. Summoning great strength, he managed to break the chains. Even though he contributed to the freedom struggle, Mutembo is said to have died a pauper last year. Zambia's independence struggle would be incomplete without mentioning the name of its founding father, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who died on June 17, 2021 at the age of 97. Today, the Freedom Statue is a popular gathering place on Africa Day held on May 25. On Zambian Independence Day, October 24, a wreath is laid to honor the freedom fighters that lost their lives. For this reason, government workers were found preparing the site known as Freedom Acre for tomorrow's independence festivities, as all roads will be leading there. However, the site has become a den for unemployed youths who are usually found catching a nap on the site, especially during working hours. The youth say they find freedom sleeping at the Freedom Acres, but add that they are not financially free. Some have said, how can they marry if they cannot even manage to support themselves? While others are of the view that the country has become more divided than being united.
Times I come here because I know it's a free area with no restrictions, but the thing is we're supposed to be free.
Okay.
That's myself, I am, but not financially. Na kuskuru nalipisha grade 1 to 12. Bueno. Na hapo napa cooperative college. Nataka kuna agribusiness. Na gombako. After natwa wela. Hapa ningfanya I think up nangu 2 years yeah. Shakota perform a job. So in the meanwhile, what I do just for survival and everything, to push up and talk about it. No, we miss up with your life in a fine. Then in Gawanaka, etching at 10 days upon. If in a kind in a Kanzavilla, Gutiran station, there and two share. It's not like quite a Ambiavica, quite the right end. By Sabai Kalabati, if I could, like me personally, and did a once. Bambi tu safeta esi ntushie ko yama tuwa upaya mwana kashuwa ram tuwala kuisanga wapu nangune ugi nanguna upao mwana kashapa na ngumu fwaya na ram tuwala kuisa wafia kumpena nshishi nemu inende shula na ina mchushi taile fwaya kasowa nemu inevesti fila stashani nice thing
chicha chimuntu chimininga ndechinapulumusa Zambia kuti nkale mwa mtendere ndechinadula cheni kuti bantu bankale free.
Okay.
Kuti chicha chimuntu
Ndivyo
bako cheni.
Why mabwelo pumula pano?
Chifukwa timabwelo pumulira pano tima sebenza all night tingosebenza che so kumangala kulema
because wanu vanati promise kuti vintu vizankala chitendi chi 50 kwata vizachipa but manje vienda bidulira na tribalism mundial yati vuta mu Mzambia.
The question begs,
as the national anthem says, are we able to sing of Zambia proud and free? And do we have a crop of youths that are able to change the destiny of this country like the ones that we had prior independence? Tito Kalama, Camnet News.
The month of October is precious to Zambians as they reflect on the liberation struggle, above all self-governance, from Britain's leadership. Monday, 24th October 2022, Zambia celebrates the 58th independence under the theme Promoting Inclusiveness Towards Sustainable Social and Economic Recovery. However, the theme contradicts the desire of senior citizens who feel sidelined by successive governments. We took time to speak to some of them to understand the challenges associated with old age. Most of them are not on any social protection mechanism, thus indicating the need for Zambia to double its efforts to safeguard the plight of vulnerable citizens.
Pakuti ashitishe tulepo tutise tudie nane ndefu aisha kuti panchitira ko wafuidisho makuti venganga fuidisha nami kali akuti ningekalila ebo ndelo bakuliba abantu bakuli bakateka mwandini abali pesa mbali anchalo ebo ndelo mbako
cho ningafuaya ku ba government kungafuako mufintu shonde chula nafyo monga ubuikashi life yami kalile ngandansha kwata nchitafyerendi
kusebenza sidisebenza tinkhala jaba fakazi wanga sasebenza naine pamozi sinisebenza ya chimene chifunika ni thandizo jabe ya ndalama ndicho chikulu chimene chifunika chakuti chiziti thandizako chakuja.
And for this freedom fighter who feels neglected, he has a message for President Hakainde Hichilema's administration.
Ife tinali ma freedom fighter kulimbana na azungu ayona ija nthawi ya azungu tinali kushupika ife nthawi ija tabena tinali ma 18 years vene kaunda vanali vakulu ife tinali monga mayusi tamene tinali kuthandiza kubroka malodi kuita bwanji kutumiwa muja maona koma sitinalandireko kapena oro wanu ngwe kufika nthawi zino iyayi koma wanzatu wena anali kulandira mukaenda monga Mozambiki, Zimbabwe, South Africa, ma freedom fighters vamalandirako kandalama kang'ono kuti kaziva thandizirako mamene muja manje muno mu Zambia simuchita vamene vija iyayi maona mutiitana chabe kuzadya nsima chabe lakilati taenda.
Meanwhile, an advocate for the rights of old people, Joseph Shambosha, reminds leaders and citizens that no one will remain forever young, hence the need to prepare for old age.
You need someone who's got strength to look after you. It might not be about financial help, it will be also mental help and interaction as well, to guide them. There are stages in life. When you are young, you are a baby, you will need help from your parents, of course. It's the same as thing when you grow up, you reach on our age, we need that kind of help as well, depends on the age where you are. When you grow up above 80 and above, you also need help from people. So I want to tell people in the society that please, wherever you are, help your grandparents. It's very much important.
While Zambia has achieved self-governance, concerns remain on the need to attain financial independence. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
quite interesting there, Miriam. I'm sure we've heard, especially that story where we heard from those people who are sleeping at the Freedom Statue. They're saying they're free, but they're free in terms of movement, but they're not free economically, and that is just a point of reflection for us. Like, what achievements have we made? Just yesterday, Miriam was watching a documentary about Singapore where they were saying there's no homeless person in Singapore. They are doing an experiment of crime. Where this man left his laptop in a cafe. He left his laptop for 1 hour. He went, like, he didn't tell anyone, like, watch this for me. He left it there. He went and came back and found it. And so now they are saying, why is it like that? So they are saying the low crime levels because everyone's basic needs are met. I think that is the state where we need to reach as a country, where you find that all our basic needs are met. You don't need to go there and start stealing and all. I think that's something else commendable, and I hope that Miriam, by 100 years, if we'll still be alive when Zambia is 100 years, I hope we'll have reached such a level, because we can't just be progressing in years, but economically we're not progressing and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Quite interesting views, Zipporah, we had there from our people. But anyway, not forgetting that, you know, you cannot talk about independence without mentioning the name of our forefather who fought for us and ensured that who also played a huge role in ensuring that we gain this independence, the late Dr. Kaunda, our first Republican president. May his soul rest in peace, but we'll continue to remember him for his beautiful and good deed he did to the country, indeed, Zipporah.
And Miriam, just even before we move on, there was that interesting story there of our freedom fighter who died recently, for that matter. Because I didn't even know that he was alive, Mr. Zanko Mpundu Mutembo. Yeah, I just saw it like 2 to 3 years ago when people were like, oh, this is a man. I was like, he's still alive.
Everyone
he should have been celebrated the same way Kaunda was celebrated, you know. And I think even his burial site needs to be a great something.
Definitely, I agree with you. I agree with you. It's
so here, in brief, Miriam, we have his story here, where it says the symbolic monument honoring the freedom fight. The man who is shown in the artwork is Mr. Zanko Mpundu Mutembo, a native to the Zambian town of Mbala. After a trial following his arrest for protesting, Mr. Mutembo was sent to Livingstone prison, where he was held in chains. With 18 armed soldiers facing him, he was ordered to break free from his chains or be shot instantly. Summoned in great strength, Mr. Mutembo managed to break the chains. And you know, when our young men, they say, how did you used to call that man in your local language? Dumula Machen.
Dumula Machen. You know, a very funny way of calling someone, but Dumula Machen. So,
yeah, that shows you the determination that was in him. Okay, exactly. That is great. That is great. And you know, and there's another interesting aspect now when we talk about independence. Some of the documentaries I've watched of our forefathers, where they were throwing stones. So there's always been this debate saying, how did Zambians win? They were throwing stones against, and I've seen those documentaries myself. Yes, people had guns. How did we win? It simply means God was on our side.
God indeed was on our side. And Zipporah, again, you should understand the fact that the determination was there for us to, you know, to gain this independence, to liberate ourselves. Yeah.
Imagine, Miriam, you go and buy, just because you're black, you buy through a small window. And all that, you can't buy like a normal person in your own country. And talking about freedom, Miriam,
anyway,
we have a caller.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
You are through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
Yes, I'm saying I want to congratulate all those going free.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so the point, but I'm pretty sure that those people get back into the world and make them have very good jobs. Because they've lost work in prison.
Thank you so much. How are you celebrating your independence today?
Pardon?
How are you celebrating your independence today?
Okay.
I'm sure you can't hear us. All right, thank you very much for the call.
Thank you so
much.
Yeah, I hope maybe he has taken his family, he will take his family out for ice cream, for chills, you know, just to have this lovely moment. Yeah.
Yes, and Miriam, when you talk about independence, really, there's this aspect of their minds in the country, Miriam. It has been a great debate saying, as a country, really, we should actually reach a level where we're able to run our own mines, benefit, because we find that Zambia mostly, like, is not fully benefiting from the mines. We find that these mining towns, I can say, for example, Mufulira, the only thing that's there, Miriam, I've lived in Mufulira for some time, there's this township called Kankoyo. And you find that there are a lot of mining activities, but the town is extremely poor, and the only thing that's there is air pollution, ground pollution. Even the grass fails to grow in that area because there's all these toxic fumes, sulfur. When you look at people's roofs, they're getting eaten up all the time because of these toxic fumes. But you find that such nearby communities to the mines, they're extremely poor, Miriam.
And they're not benefiting at all.
They're only benefiting from pollution. So you find that the roads are dilapidated because you find that these people conducting mining activities can perform social corporate responsibility by making sure that mining towns actually are the most developed. But you find that there's just air pollution, there's this and that. So as a country, that's something that calls for reflection. How are we running our mines? Are we economically free as a country?
We need to reflect that, Zipporah, as we celebrate our 58th independence anniversary, Zipporah, because we cannot continue, you know, suffering in our own country. We are seeing our resources and being utilized by other people. And then, yes, of course, we are encouraging, you know, investors in the country, but in as much as we are encouraging investors to come on board in our country and invest, how are we keeping our own people? This is something that we should also look into, because you cannot talk about investors coming into and then later on your people are not benefiting. What are you doing? Because you find most of the time a lot of huge monies are going out of the country. How are we benefiting? Yeah,
That's
this is
one
something
question.
that we should reflect upon. Yeah.
And another thing, Miriam, was there's always been this debate that, of course, we are free as, even not just Zambia, but as Africa, we are free from colonialism. But then they're saying there's this new colonialism called, they call it neo-colonialism, meaning new, whereby we depend on aid. We're always getting no donation for this, donation for that. So as a result, you end up pleasing the country that is giving you. So that is a new form of colonialism. So there's always this need, there's always been this emphasis for Zambia to be economically, and Zambia and Africa to be economically sustainable, self-sustainability.
Exactly.
To prevent this control from the outside world.
If you see the resources that we have as a country, we have copper, we have cobalt, we have all these things, including land. But why don't we utilize this? You know, I think this is a high time that, in as much as we are advocating for this, we should also talk about the mindset change of our people, of our leaders. Okay?
Yes,
everyone should come on board and say, okay, I have a great plan. This is what we need to do. This is how the direction that we need to take as a country. Because if we're going to have these resources, natural resources, and then we're failing to utilize them, we're waiting for people outside the country to come and, you know, take advantage of that things, and then we're not going anywhere.
And really, if you look at like what the books that I've read, for example, when they say one thing fighting Africa is the issue of corruption.
Exactly.
But I'm glad that, for example, now we've seen the new administration, which is actually
is so much vocal on fighting against corruption. And 5 years from now, we hope to see a huge difference and a huge impact in the fight against corruption. As we move forward, if we want to develop, we want to see the massive development as a country. Yeah.
So you can quote on the numbers that are scrolling on your screen, or leave us a message on Facebook. What is your view of Zambia's independence 58 years after 1964? Are we economically independent? Are we democratically independent as a country? What is the political space right now in Zambia? And me, I'm talking about the political space. We've heard the Patriotic Front, the former ruling Patriotic Front, actually airing these complaints just on Saturday we heard complaints from Chilubi Member of Parliament, Mulenga Fuwe, who was saying, as PF, they don't feel like there's need to celebrate independence because according to them, Zambia is not free. So they were citing the Kabushi and Kwacha elections that went on, saying this, and that's your view on that?
Zipporah, I really don't know, but I really don't know, but anyway, those were issues that were before the court, and the directive was given, a ruling was, rather, a judgment was given by the court, and a final verdict was rendered by the court also before ECZ anyway made that final decision that they can go ahead with the by-elections. We did see the ruling coming from the Constitutional Court where they said the matter in which these people, Mr. Bowman Lusampwandi's counterpart, Joseph Malanji, were seeking interpretation of certain provision. If ECZ can buy them, the matter that was before the High Court had lapsed. So time had lapsed, the 21 days time had lapsed in that time before the court gave verdict. So there was no way they could proceed with the matter. Yeah, so we did see a verdict from the court, but all in all, I am glad that the time the by-elections were taking place in Kabushi and Kwacha, we didn't see any form of violence. It was free from that. That is something that we really appreciate as citizens, and we would like to look forward in the near future if we will have such kind of elections in the near future. Let's talk about the 2026 general elections. We do not want to see a situation where we had previously experienced last year where people even died, you know, people were shot, some, yeah. So moving forward, this is what we want to see, a free from violence election.
And we even have some more by-elections, Miriam, on 4th November.
Yeah.
Mwense Lusangazi Mukushu on 4th November. Those ones are coming up.
Mwense Lusangazi Mukushu is probably, you would find that you would agree with me that we did see some form of violence there where the ruling party members were attacking the opposition patriotic front.
Allegedly.
We saw the videos. Allegedly, yeah, allegedly we're attacking. But this is something that we don't, when the by-elections come, we don't want to experience the thing they experienced some 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago. No, that shouldn't be the case. An example has already been set by Kabushi and Kwacha constituency, where there was no violence.
And actually, I'm talking about Kabushi. We heard from stakeholders like Chipenzi, Mr. McDonald Chipenzi and Mr. Gesner from the Operation Young Vote, saying the campaign period in Kabushi was almost non-existent. So they're saying there's all these court cases. So people are busy. People are not even really campaigning.
Yes, people are not really campaigning.
Up. Maybe that's why there's no violence. I don't know. But in Mukushi, when the people have got time, we saw the violence happen.
Yeah, but you will realize the fact that the by-elections in those two respective constituencies, they were set for the 15th of September. But before the actual date came into, of course, there was that petition that Mr. Bowman and Malanji had filed in the Lusaka High Court. So the High Court suspended the by-elections at that time. So before it could give a ruling, the matter was again taken to the Court of Appeal. Before the Court of Appeal could give their ruling, the matter was already before the Constitutional Court. So the Constitutional Court now, since it's the Superior Court, it gave an overall view judgment with regards to that. Yeah. So, yeah, indeed, there was no time for campaigning per se. Yeah.
Quite interesting. And let's just take a look at that story on independence unity and hear what the Patriotic Front had to say about Zambia's independence.
When we talk about liberties and many other factors that consolidate a democratic environment, we are performing so badly as a country. And the element that is making us to perform so badly as a country is the executive. For instance, I don't understand the mind of the president currently, where he had to go into a sham election, which he knew was surrounded by different legal battles and legal questions, which to us, we do not accept that, because that judgment has overlooked a lot of factors and it has been sneaked through a window. and a toxic window for that matter, then we are shooting in the dark. Because even the independence won't have its meaning. Our forefathers fought so that we can have the leverage to exercise liberties as it may be.
So we've heard there from the Patriotic Front saying they feel like Zambia's independence this year will have no meaning according to them because they were not on the ballot in the Kabushi and Kwacha constituency by elections. So you can call us on the numbers that are scrolling on your screen and give your view on the matter. Is Zambia's democratic space really shrinking as the Patriotic Front is saying, or is it just an observation of the rule of law? What is your thought on Zambia's democracy? The UPND has further been accused of trying to kill the opposition in Zambia. Is this scenario true? The opposition Patriotic Front on Friday, Miriam, also had a press briefing accusing the current administration of trying to take Zambia back to a one-party state. Is this true? What is your observation? You can also leave us a message on Facebook.
Exactly. So, Zibora, we have messages from our viewers on Facebook. We have a message from Edwin Zul who says, Happy Independence Day celebration, Camnet TV management and crew. And then Adela Kaima, she says, Happy Independence to you too. Happy Independence to you as well.
And Miriam, when you talk about, I attended that press briefing on Friday by the Patriotic Front. It was quite interesting. They had about 5 speakers. And so I don't know if it's just because I don't know, Miriam, but they were saying, for example, if you look at the ballots.
Okay, just hold your thought.
Oh, we have a caller.
Hello?
Hello, good morning. We no Mishan Mkwai. Okay. Quiz Vanani? Kukaoma? Fulkaoma. Okay, good. Okay, you can go ahead with your contribution. Why? Okay.
Thank you. Quite interesting view there. So, according to him, he's saying it was fine, isn't it? It was fine. He's saying the court has ruled and all that.
And all that.
And me, okay, I looked at...
and you know, as he has also thrown a challenge, I don't know, an advice or what, to Mr. Raphael Nakachinda that he should stop his protest because everything is okay.
He's zooming in.
Yeah, one day he should stop the protest. Everything is okay. There's the president is managing the country very well. Your thought on that?
The caller.
According to the caller.
No, as we're just on the
analyzing
on neutral ground.
Exactly, that's our part to play.
Yeah, and talking about Nakachinda, on Thursday, I think it's referring to the press briefing that Nakachinda had on Thursday.
Yeah,
where he was talking about the fight against corruption, saying it is targeted against the PF. So he gave an example of that man, Kelvin Fubewalia, who was part of the UPND alliance. So he says, according to Nakachinda, the press briefing, he says, as soon as he stops being part of the alliance, he starts getting investigated. That was according
Let me just hold your thoughts. We have a caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
We are fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine.
You're through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
You are talking to Mr. Banda.
Mr. Banda, go ahead with your contribution.
My tendency and just writing this on the phone for the benefit for project management. Yes, I think he has a point. You know, in terms of treatment, we therefore understand our right without it. What happens in Russia about elections is a very issue because things that appear to be not appear to not have a group of the past, especially the have no power to the judiciary. That it has to defend we can go through the family. We will go together, we go there and teach women and youth a country that knows the word of nation. Because it's a very state, that was identified by all the people. And you see both ourselves and with it and with the rest, it's quite disappointing. I'm telling you, the freedom that fulfills in know is like this if we go a little bit of that person. If we go to this path, we will create freedom. And freedom is the key of that. That's why freedom wants to come in time so that whatever we want to do, it should not be illegal. Because the reality in everything that was happening, I'm not sure if I'm not sure I'm freedom is better. I'm learning and looking for. And that's why I think the level to the objective that the is to bring the first one. We are still saying no to that and not that. We want that out the best. Probably you should look at and the reasons around you. Whether they are in the right attitude, you remember the first time you went into gender to campaign for it and the understand. Because you know, this campaign, that was teaching the and the president was yes, the first state machine and doctors, you are the person for touching. He was that and then you can say, it's you know that it's compared to the apartment. You know, it's a people so he said the party to put the president because he thinks that the executive has no power. That is the reason. I think that's my point. That's why we need to,
Thank you so much. Quite
there's a lot of
exactly. Exactly, Zipporah.
Yeah,
talking about
that. This question is hot. The by-elections, it's a hot one.
Exactly, thinking no, you cannot talk about independence, and then we have all these issues. So we have a message from Teacher Thomas, who says, "Happy Independence. The Kavushi case should possibly be a threat to democracy, but I think we should look at all the facts surrounding the issue closely in order to give it a fair judgment. The challenge is to give a one-side view."
Okay. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Quite interesting.
Quite interesting.
Yeah, Miriam, yeah.
Exactly.
And when you talk, I was saying on Friday, we were at the press briefing while they were looking at the ballot papers, for example. They said UPND was competing against the leadership movement and 2 independent candidates. So they're saying there are no major parties like the Patriotic Front, which is the main opposition party. And then I looked at that ballot, the ballot was looking funny. It was looking funny because they're used to this you still owe there. But of course the courts have ruled, and but those are sentiments from the PF. So that was the basis, saying by today, 24th, they're not going to. Like they feel it has no meaning. They feel just it's a day, it's supposed to be celebrated, but they feel like it has lost its meaning according to them.
Interesting views there. But anyway, all in all, we continue to celebrate our independence, 58th independence anniversary as a country. This is a very milestone achievement, Zipporah. We have seen a lot of challenges that we have gone through as a country just to gain this gift. Okay, but all in all, we are glad that we have it. So we have a comment from Edwin Zulu who says, we had no freedom of movement, association, right to life, assembly, freedom of speech, expression, and privacy. We were instructed to carry a pass or chitupa or risk being arrested. We were made to pay musonko. Quite interesting. Quite interesting views there.
So he's speaking from experience as someone who actually experienced,
was there or during those days. Yeah. Anyway, you and I don't know.
Yeah, we are not anywhere near that place.
We have heard stories. We have we have been told, we have read, we have researched how things were back in the old days, and all in all, Zipporah, we can only be thankful that we currently gained this independence, and we are here right now at this moment, enjoying this freedom.
Yes, and you talk about independence, ma'am, it comes in a number of different ways. For example, as a country, are we producing the things that we use? Or are we still import dependent? As a country, are we able to make vehicles in our country? I think those are some of the milestones, because I've seen that people mostly focus on unity, tribalism, but what about major economic gains?
As a country,
58 years, are we producing airplanes, Miriam? Are we producing cars?
Are we economically stable?
Yes. What is our education bringing? Can you say someone who went to UNZA actually assembled this airplane? You know what I mean? Like, our education, is it in line with our independence, like showing that now we can achieve these things? I think those are some of the things we should be looking at, Miriam. Apart from the unity and all that, what economic gains, what innovations have we made as a country?
Yeah.
So we have a caller there, Miriam. Oh, we have lost it?
Seems like we have lost it, Zipporah. But anyway, we'll take a short break, and we will be right back discussing about independence and how you, our viewer out there, is celebrating your day this morning. We'll take a short break.
Atichingukako ushefishi vya chitike mbona bakalamba wachalo vitu wachulile ukutitikale wino mumutendo wakwililiko wafumaluka ukuchula kwa wote tikumeni ngoshaishiwo kushana kapenda neshala menda Chishi tukwetelelo mwe bantu kutali twatuntuka uyu mutende tukwetelelo mwe bantu kutali twafuma ifrita mutukweteta yaponenenga mana ifikolo fyesu fyalichulile nokupumwa pakalamba
bambi balenda nenkasa elo bambita balelia babasungile ngena mashampanga mu kyalo kyabo mukokosa kabili mu bulamba bwabo basukile bakimfya natwiminire bose tubatotele pafyo babombere balibomba naticingukako
Upatuntukazande wechalo cha mukubano mutende
Nomutende
Ushabishika chitike kunu moku tuatula Emona bakalamba wachalo fitu bachulile Uchipikale wino mumutendo wakwililiko wafumaluka Wakuchula kwa wote tikumeni
No Takoshuka twaliva bwino tulekana na bantu icho tufaya muchinshi ukwikala bwino na freedom ukusambilisha bana besu nokulya bwino gegerya Yesu tatufaya vyokutubelesha ukwikata kumutende nobunga efyakalipe nefikole fyesu ukwikala kwatite chalo chabo balilwile ilelo natuchindikwa ni bena balilwile ilelo natukwata freedom balilwile ilelo kutitwa pepa kasuba konsemba ngibomba natichingo kako naine mukazambia kambelenge mona ine ife chitike kuamoka patula ndemona
bakalamba bachalo vitu bachulile ukujitwikale wino mumutendo wakwililiko wafumaluka ukujula kwa wote tikube
inpen
nakushayishi wakushana kapenda ndeshala
tatokela mweteko pakutungililo mutende nokusakamana ipikolwa ebyeswi fyabisisho buntungwa bantu takwali kusobonola kamitundu bonse balifyeumo bonse baleka bilo mutende bonse baleka bilafuriko nototela naticingukako
ukwatuntukazambya wechalo cha mukubano mutende ushavinshi vyachitike kulumo kutwatula
nemona
bakalamba bachalo vitu bachulile ukujitwikale wino mumutendo wakwililiko wafumaluka ukujula kwa wote tikube
infe
nakushayishi wakushana kapenda ndeshala menda balibomba
kona ine tulimbolu lwa buntumba kutali totuntuka tetishale neimba kona ine tulimbolu lwa buntumba kutali totuntuka tetishale
neimba kona ine tulimbolu lwa buntumba kutali totuntuka tetishale
ine nangu nalile mana
neimba kona ine Urimbolo la buntumbo, utalipa tuntuka, etishale.
Nangu fenshi mwana.
Neimba kona ine. Urimbolo la buntumbo, utalipa tuntuka, etishale.
Nangu fenshi pepe.
Neimba kona ine.
Kanda nolu.
Urimbolo la buntumbo, utalipa tuntuka, etishale.
Mambela kufialo.
Neimba kona ine. Urimbolo la buntumbo.
What a beautiful song indeed. Zipra, I was busy shaking, you know, trying to enjoy myself. I did do one or two moves there. You will agree with me. I was good at doing like a dance, you know. Exactly. I was doing, you know, those to my dance moves and trying, you know, to be in the independence mood, enjoying my time. Yeah, it's a very, very lovely morning. We shouldn't forget that fact, and we are glad that God, you know, gave us this moment and time. that we need to appreciate and cherish as a country. And also
Miriam,
pay respect to our forefathers who fought for our independence. And as the young people in society, we should not take things for granted.
We have a call, Miriam.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
You are through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
My name is Mo.
Mr. Who? Mwila. It's good to know that you are watching Camnet TV. Where are you watching us from?
I'm in Lusaka.
Lusaka?
Yes, ma'am.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
First of all, I want to say that this is a very important topic that you are having. Yeah, we should not take for granted the peace and the unity that we have enjoyed so far. Naturally, none of the things that we are forgetting, especially for generations that comes after. Satanism. For example, if I have to explain to someone else 10 years ago about what happened in 1964, their application of a day will not be as well as the system was there. There's always this interference, thinking that there are separations and when they are not as intelligent as we are, as we are better together, we understand things much better than the very detachment that comes with opposite mind to events that are supposed to know there so that we can understand our present and use that information to view for our future. And then they are taking for granted. This is my opinion.
Thank you. Before you go, how are you celebrating your independence?
I'm mostly going to be away. Yeah, I'm mostly going to be away. Yeah, I will be actually don't have anything that has been lined up for me and that's going to be home anytime with my family.
Happy Independence Day to you and your family.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. Before I think he was speaking my thought as well. Before we received that call, I did mention about the fact that we should not take advantage of the peace and unity that we get.
Because other countries, Miriam, we've seen a lot of refugees coming here into Zambia because there's chaos in the country.
Every time we see refugees coming into Zambia.
And Zambia is known as a peaceful country, and we should maintain that status. We should not destroy it with political violence, tribalism, division, because this is also bad for our development because it scares away investors, it destabilizes the country's economy and all those issues, Miriam.
Yeah, that's the more reason why Zipporah is saying 4 years from now, if we're going to go into the general elections, we don't want to see violence during our time. Like the previous incidents we recorded where we saw people dying. We don't want to see a situation like this. If we're going to achieve this prosperous middle-income country goal by 2030, we need to look into certain areas and maintain and ensure that, okay, these are some of the things that we really need to work on to achieve this goal.
And anyway, Miriam, talking about democratic freedom, we're just going to take a look at a story from the Patriotic Front that was done on Friday, where they are saying for them as a PF, they feel like Zambia's freedoms are absent. So that is according to them. Let's just take a look at that story, and remember to keep calling and keep engaging us on Facebook. Join us after the story.
When we see courts changing positions, like we have seen in the case of Kabushi, there is no democracy to talk about. There will be no constitutional democracy to talk about. Because tell me, with what has happened in the past few weeks, how many of you seated here still have confidence in our courts? How many of you? Remember, like my colleague said, the executive, the judiciary and the legislature exercise power that is given to them through the Constitution. That power we call constituted power. But the constituent power, the reserve power, still resides in the people of Zambia. Agony would be when one day the Zambian people decide to withdraw that power that they've given to these institutions and decide to exercise that power by themselves. That is how confusion in the world over has started. And that would happen whenever citizens don't feel that those that they've given power to exercise on their behalf are failing to exercise that power with diligence.
Quite interesting, Miriam, there. So, according to the PF, they're saying the current administration should be careful, otherwise people will rise and get power. According to him, I don't know what he means by that, but I think, Miriam, everybody, or the ballot spoke for itself in the 2021 general elections, and we'll wait the 2026 general. We don't want to see situations where like that threatening, where people will take power. No. We want the legitimate way through the ballot.
And Zipporah, this also reminds me of something that various politicians have been calling upon. In fact, even several stakeholders and the general public at large, they've been calling for. Anyway, before I finish my thought, we have a caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
You're through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
This is Lungu Mapengo.
Mr. Lungu?
Yes,
please go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Yes. I just wanted to talk about our freedom. That's the 8 years of the time that we got our independence. Yes, I can say maybe politically we might see that we are free, but economically I see a problem on that one. And this is the issue that we need to fight it again in Zambian society, that this country become free on the political issues. Let's also fight to be a little bit free on the economical issues. Because most of the things that happen economically in our country, they are not out of our decision, to be honest. They are not. They are being decided by some external forces that we always agree and we always continue suffering, and we shall continue suffering if we are not going to say no to this external voice which people dictating on what should happen economically. The issue of the political thing, I think as Zambia, let's talk to maybe, more especially the politicians, those who are in government at the moment. Let's stop preparing to what was happening today, previously to. We are past that. Let's talk of the current and the future where we are heading to. Whatever wrong things these guys did in the previous review, let's put them aside and focus on what we can do for the Zambian people today and tomorrow. Yes. Now I will be a little bit concentrated on my constituents, Matinga here. Yes. I'm looking at today, yes. Our roads are not linked to the main road. We already have these roads which are impassable. 58 years, no radio and TV signal from the national broadcaster. 58 years, no connection to the national grid. We are getting power from Malawi, which even as I speak now, any time it can go, and the program of coming back is not known. It go at any time and it can come back at any time. It's 8 years of independence, getting power from Malawi. Yes, I know we on the power generation in our country. We have elected where it's going. Let's these districts like Cham and Masinga be connected. We have got hospitals that have been built. There will be mortuaries there. But if your power which is not reliable, what will be happening? You know, here issues of mortuary. You go to Isoka, that's where you think the body wants to be there for some days. But 58 years of independence, we are still talking about that.
Thank you.
But the people who have been in government, people, talk of the body singers, talk of the local singers, talk of the Namugaras, they have been in government.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have to release you now. But before you go, how are you celebrating your independence?
Today, looking at what I've talked about, it's very difficult for me to celebrate independence in this Mulonde place. It's very difficult. What should I celebrate? Nothing.
Okay, thank you so much. So, all the way from Mafinga district, Zipporah, he mentioned about roads.
I think that's our caller from last time. Yeah. I was saying they have not reconciled with the people. I was saying the MPs have not reconciled with the people because there was a bad on the National Day of Prayer, if you remember.
And you know, this tells you about, you know, the genuine issues that we need to look at, Zipporah. We are talking about 58th independence, okay? And then, yet you'll find that we are lacking in certain areas. So many areas. He spoke about the fight to be free economically. Where are we? We're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about. We're saying we're not producing cars. Even toothpicks, me, we import toothpicks.
Just looking at our agriculture, I know the government has come up with a very much, you know, advocacy on talking about agriculture and how it is contributing to the country's economy. But how are we doing? Okay, how are we doing when it comes to that sector? Are we adding value? Exactly. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, madam?
We are fine, thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I'm calling you here in Kaoma.
It's good to know that Kaoma is watching us.
Thank you.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. It's very disappointing when you see the PM for the way they are behaving. You know that the people who promoted this police removed, careers removed, that means a lot of things. You remember, even last time when we had the petitions, they went at the court, they started drinking beer. People there were being fired because of a certain arrangement of the tribe. So, over Kabusha, we cannot try over Kabusha and the quarter. This is what the right is. They never went to court. Yeah, we are going to say that the Europeans did their part, but they went to court. The court ruled them to jail. They cannot be told that the Europeans their part. There is a breach of this kind. Yeah, I'll celebrate my independence. Thank you very much. Very well.
Thank you so much.
Good.
Before I could even ask him how he's celebrating his independence, he mentioned that I'm celebrating my independence, and he just spoke about it. Or I'm sure he's having a very good time with his family, and I wish you, sir, a very happy Independence Day to you and your family as well, and I wish you the best of luck.
So you're saying if they had not taken them out of court, then you'd have said they're bad and all that. So anyway, quite interesting.
Quite interesting views that we have continued to have. But coming back to our earlier discussion we had with our previous caller who was talking about we cannot boast about, having this independence, celebrating 58th independence anniversary if we have not achieved in certain areas. Your thought on that, Zipporah? I think we did mention some of the elements that he didn't point out earlier on.
Yes, where we need to be free economically, socially, and in all areas, really. And we have another caller.
Hello, good morning. Bwino mwaka bwanji. Ni bandani wametikamba nao. Familia mu wamashina. Tiuze nkoni contribution yanu lero kuseni kuno.
Contribution ya kuseni wapita kama kwa masini ya futa. Mambo masini kufuta na nyele sio kukula. Na siri ndio kukula.
Mwezi mwenda kwa clinic kwa mwezi mwenda.
So, clinic na nyele ndio kama
clinic bwanji? Clinic?
Maripose?
Maripose clinic. Ili kuti?
Kuchaisa.
Chaisa.
Chikumverani? So inangu dandaulo yanu ni ya bwanji?
Dandaulo yanu waja kwa tenze wakini tuwafara gani na masiri ndio kwa na gani ya kukule. Usoga. Lakini basi ndio kuna mapie ndio ndio kufikia kwa kitu baada ya kupotea hivi. Basi kwa nini tunatoa kupotea? Ndio tatizo moja kwa kufikia position.
Okay. But mu celebrate independence yanu bwanji lero. Lero independence yanu mu celebrate bwanji lero. Nati independence yanu lero mu celebrate bwanji. How are you celebrating your independence? Okay, score.
Okay, so mungasia.
Okay. Zipo, I think that is something that our newsroom should follow up.
Yeah, so that I was about to leave her number because I don't know how we're going to trace her.
So Ramire mu mungatisireko number yanu ngati mutitamba paso ku TV mutisireko number kama numbers ya mama tumira amene yayo tizaikonka history ya ku Chaisa clinic mutisireko chabe number yanu tizaikonka story. Yeah.
And talking about independence, maybe as we go towards concluding, we're looking at the plight of freedom fighters. I think that's something that every year, Miriam, we talk about what is the plight of freedom fighters. Then people say freedom fighters are living in poverty. Are they being honored the way they need to be honored? Just on the African Freedom Day, Miriam, we did a story with one of the freedom fighters, Mr. Patrick, I've forgotten the last name, but he's one of those old oldies in his 80s. And you find that he's living in poverty. He has not even yet gotten his retirement benefits. Mr. Peter Malembeka. He's actually a well-known freedom fighter, Mr. Peter Malembeka. Well, he's not even yet gotten his benefits, Miriam. As a freedom fighter, fighting for benefits. So that's something really that has to be looked at. What is the plight of freedom fighters? As I speak, Miriam, today has not yet been given his benefits.
Quite sad. And you know, and then we're talking about independence.
He's actually a well-recognized freedom fighter. I actually met him at an event where they were, where they had organized freedom fighters through the Ministry of Community Development. So he's a recognized freedom fighter, and yet look at his plight.
I hope the relevant authority are going to look into his case and ensure that he receives his benefit. In due time. Exactly. Quite sad.
That they're living in poverty.
Quite sad. Imagine you are boasting about fighting for the entire country's independence, and yet later on it's you now. We are fighting for your own. Sad. Hello. Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Hello, can you hear us? I think we've lost that core, Miriam. And I don't know, I've noticed that there are few women. Is it that maybe all the women are there? Okay, I've noticed women, but there are few women.
I'm sure during that time, anyway, I do not have the full details, but I'm sure during that time they needed men as the foot soldiers on the ground.
Women used to cook, but is that fair? Me, I'm talking about gender equality. The women are cooking, women are fighting. Is that gender equality?
But let us just be truthful with ourselves.
Miriam, I can be. I could have fought. Miriam.
You would have been in the battlefield. You would have been in the battlefield.
Female soldiers today.
Yeah, we have seen female soldiers. But you know, maybe at that time they were not well trained and stuff like that. So, in order to protect the women and their safety, maybe they need to, take care of the children. But still, that is the role they play. Each and everyone played their role. And we recognize the effort that each and everyone contributed. Yeah.
And speaking of independence, ma'am, we have many foreign-owned industries in Zambia where we've heard a lot of labor disputes. Talk of Chinika area there, Chinika industrial area. In Lusaka, we've got a lot of industries. And we've heard all these complaints saying, no, this company is Lebanese owned, it does this. Remember that story which we did where some workers were evicted off the company property, just thrown out into the cold, and it was in the rain season. So really, talking about independence, how is our labor sector?
Exactly.
Are we independent? How are investors treating our own local Zambian people? There's need for the Ministry of Labor to actually wake up and do the necessary thing.
Zipporah, what pained me the most last time, there's a story I covered of a young man who was beaten. I'm not using allegedly, no, because the matter was beaten. No, there's video evidence, the matter was taken to court. But this guy later on said, no, he forgave his boss. They talked over the matter, the issue. He was being beaten with a metal bar. Talking about mistreatment of a lot of Zambian workers by this foreigners.
So don't look at independence, Miriam. We're talking about freedom and all that, but how are people being treated by investors? We find that people are being dismissed. We've done stories, me and one from these industries. People are being dismissed without any notice, just told, hand over your uniform. We've done such stories, me.
Yeah, the most
hand over your uniform, go home, and all that.
And the most sad part is when you're demanding for something that is rightly yours, this is when you get to experience this kind of dispute where, no, you're fired, you're dismissed and stuff like that, because you were demanding maybe for your salary. You had gone maybe for 6 months without pay. And then when you demand, later on you're being fired. But this is not something that we want to see moving forward. When we are going to be talking about independence, this is something that we don't want to see. And this also, Zipporah, it is a wake-up call to the Ministry of Labor. They should up their game. We have continued receiving this complaint. What is it that they're doing differently that the previous administration was not doing? Okay? There is need about the same thing over and over again. Then how are we improving? Why should we boast about independence if we're not going to be doing so well in different areas? Because for the country to develop economically, okay, and all these other sectors need to play a role. But if we're going to be having other areas, lagging behind, trust me, the goal of achieving, of Zambia becoming a middle-income, prosperous country by 2030, it will be far.
So when you look at independence, there are all these factors that come into play, and especially the issue of unemployment. Many youth are unemployed. Of course, we're talking about CDF, but not everyone in the country can benefit from CDF, really. So when you look at issues of independence, Miriam, we're looking at issues of economic liberty. Of course, we've seen increased freedom of expression, speech, and all that, but really looking at all those aspects. So independence has to be looked at holistically, and there's need for stakeholders to take into account those issues. Anyway, this is where we actually come to the end of our breakfast show, where we're looking at Zambia's independence and on whether we have really achieved independence in many other areas apart from the freedom that we have. And so thank you to our callers that actually called us, and for those who left us messages on Facebook, special recognition to you, and as well as our floor manager and the technician up there, Mr. Frederick Munungwe, as well as our floor manager, Elias Chilela. We are grateful for the program, Miriam.
Exactly, Zipporah. You know, you have done all the beautiful
summarizing parts. You don't have to close, Miriam.
You have done all the beautiful summarizing parts. And then I had Elijah, you know, giving me an eye contact. I was like, I thought you were going to do, you know, the recognition coming from you and stuff like that. But anyway, Elias, I've seen you. A very big ups to you. And Mr. Fred, this is where we come to the end of our program this morning. It was nice to have you, our viewers, you know, join us in this lovely conversation that we had this morning. But anyway, do make a program tomorrow the same time as we bring you nothing but the best. For me, Miriam Kemba and Zipporah Mshara, it's bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Waisa kuchipona chenu mwetata Ufweni mkulila kwesu kwebana benu Oh twalitebya o mwami Kambo balilelekedwe baita asindalia
Ikulo shakale Shalefu kama panshi no kuita peshinale Kabalu fyanya Vale kumkula panshi no kuita peshinale
Natukule Chalo jesu ikwe pachiliwe chakale Matu amakula Kukabula babu pashi bakula pauke
Kusakwilila kumwane Kalombo zambidi ukweti Sabia kisu
Ikulo shakale Shalefu kama panshi no kuwela kumafunde yenu Kabalu fyanya Valefu kama panshi no kwita peshina yenu Natukule Ichalo chesu pachiliwe chakale Wetu wawakule Wabula wamupashiwa kule
But we are one. When we put our hands together, the Lord has promised